Now we'll use what we learned about frame-by-frame animation to animate the robot talking. If you're following along, I'm in 04_frame-by-frame.fla in the Chapter 4 folder in the Exercise Files folder. Before we begin animating the robot, let's separate the robot into layers. Let's create one layer for the robot's body, one layer for the robot's mouth, and one layer for the robot's head. There are a few different ways to separate one layer into multiple layers. Some ways are more effective than others. Here's one of the most effective ways to do that. Select the robot's mouth by double-clicking the fill inside of the robot's mouth, and then choose Edit, Cut. This is a simple cut and paste procedure, but the pasting is different than usual. So let's go create a new layer by clicking the Insert Layer button at the bottom of the timeline. Change the name of the new layer to Mouth. With the mouth layer selected, choose Edit, and then find Paste in Center, and notice the associated keyboard shortcut, Command V. On the PC, that's Control V. Let's see what that does. It pastes an object that you cut or copied in the center of the stage, which is not really what we want. We want to paste the object from where we cut it. So I'm going to press Command Z or Control Z on the PC to back up, then choose Edit. The command to paste an object in the same place is Paste in Place. So choose Paste in Place. If you notice the keyboard shortcut there, it was Shift Command V on the Mac and Shift Control V on the PC. So now we have the robot separated into a mouth layer and the robot layer. The next step is to put the robot's head on a separate layer. Now selecting the robot's head can be pretty challenging. If you try to draw a selection area around the robot's head, watch what happens. You may move the background. You don't want that to happen, so I'm going to press Command Z or Control Z on the PC to step back. What we want to do is lock all of the other layers other than the robot layer so we can easily select the robot's head. We can do that in the timeline. At the top of the timeline, you'll see an eye icon, which is a button to show or hide all layers. And next to it is a lock icon, which locks or unlocks all layers. One thing we can do is click the lock icon to lock all the layers. And then notice when you click that, the dots that were below the lock icon change to lock icons. And so now we can unlock individual layers by clicking on the lock icon for that layer. So for the robot layer, if I click the lock icon on the right of the robot layer, it unlocks that layer. Now if you ever want to lock all the layers except for one or hide all layers except for one, there's a much faster way to do that. Let me demonstrate how that works. I'm going to click the Lock, Unlock All Layers button at the top of the timeline, and that will lock all the layers. I'm going to click it again to unlock all layers. Now what I'm going to do is select the robot layer, and I want to lock every other layer except for the robot layer. So I'm going to right-click. On the Mac, that's Control-click, and I'm going to choose Lock Others. And every layer is locked except the robot layer. And now I'm going to select the Selection tool, and then click in the gray area off the stage to deselect all the artwork, and then I can draw a selection area around the robot's head. Then we'll do the same technique to cut and then paste in place the robot's head. This time I'm going to use keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to press Command X, and that's Control X on the PC to cut the robot's head. And then I'm going to create a new layer above the mouth layer. I'll call this layer Head. On the head layer, I'm going to make sure that it's selected and press Shift Command V. On the PC, that's Shift Control V. Remember, that's Paste in Place, not Paste in Center. Now that we've organized our layers, we can animate the robot. I'm going to create a simple animation over 5 frames. So what I need to do is tell Flash that I want a 5-frame animation, and I want all of these layers to be on each frame. Click frame 5 of the logo layer. Notice it's right before the 5 marker at the top of the timeline. And then hold Shift on your keyboard, and then click frame 5 of the background layer. And notice that there's a selection of frame 5 of the logo layer all the way down to frame 5 of the background layer. You can tell that the frames are selected because they look a little bit darker than the other frames. With the frame selected, I'm going to tell Flash to extend the timeline to frame 5, or in other words, tell Flash that I'm creating a 5-frame animation by choosing Insert, Timeline, and Frame. Notice that the keyboard shortcut is F5. Notice now that the playhead is on frame 5. If I click and drag and scrub the playhead, the animation doesn't change, but it moves from frame 1 to frame 5. Notice that if I drag past frame 5, the playhead doesn't move because I didn't create any frames past frame 5. Next, we'll create keyframes for the head and the mouth to make them animate. The first thing I'll do is animate the robot's mouth. So I'm going to right-click the mouth layer or control-click on the Mac and choose Lock Others. Notice that there's a keyframe on frame 1 of the mouth layer. You can tell because there's a black dot with a gray background. Now I'm going to select frame 2 of the mouth layer. You can tell it's selected because it has a black background. And then I'm going to choose the menu command, Insert Timeline Keyframe, to create a keyframe. Now I can change the art on this frame, and it can be unique from the art on the last keyframe. So I'm going to use the Free Transform tool and rotate the mouth a little bit. If I scrub the playhead back to frame 1, the art is the same as it was when I initially created the robot's mouth. And if you scrub the playhead to frame 2, the robot's mouth rotates. So now each time we create a keyframe, we can modify the art. So the keyframe kind of saves the art however you organize it on that frame. I clicked on frame 4 of the mouth layer and selected it. You can tell that it has a black background, so it's selected. And now I'm going to create a keyframe by using the keyboard shortcut F6. Once I create a keyframe, I can close the robot's mouth again by rotating it a little bit. And then I'm going to select frame 5 of the mouth layer, press F6 again to create another keyframe. Then I'm going to rotate the robot's mouth again to make the robot's mouth open. So I'm using the Free Transform tool, putting my cursor outside the top right corner handle. You can do this with any corner handle. I'm clicking and dragging down to rotate the robot's mouth. And now if I scrub the playhead, you can see that it looks like the robot's talking. Yes, I understand that it's very, very simple, but this is the beginnings of something wonderful, creating animation. Now let's preview the movie. You can preview the movie by choosing Control, Test Movie, or the keyboard shortcut, Command Return on the Mac, Control Enter on the PC. Robot's mouth is moving a little bit too fast, so I'm going to close this window, and we'll need to fix that. One way we can fix the animation, slow it down a little bit, is by controlling the frame rate. We'll look at how to do that in the next movie.